I feel like I'm getting hammered.
Caitlin Clark spent last season getting hacked, hit, okay? And targeted by defenders who thought they could bully her out of the game. But those days, they're officially over. The Indiana Fever just loaded up with not one, not two, but 3 enforcers. Who won't let that slide anymore?
So the Indiana Fever have got their enforcer. They have got their enforcer for Caitlin Clark. And I'm not gonna lie, like, when it comes to Caitlin Clark and their enforcer, last year everyone was talking about the
Natasha Howard. Sophie Cunningham and Duana Bonner are battle-tested veterans who bring toughness, grit, and a physical edge to the court. Clark's haters thought they could keep targeting her. With hard fouls and cheap shots, they're in for a rude awakening. The message is clear: mess with Clark, and you'll have to answer to them first.
closest thing they had was Erica Wheeler. That was the closest thing they had for someone to defend Caitlin Clark, was Erica freaking Wheeler. Maybe Tammy, but Caitlin Clark was getting hit a lot. She was getting hit a lot early, and they needed their Charles Oakley.
This move isn't just about upgrading the roster, it's about making a statement. The Fever aren't just looking to compete. They're here to take over. With these new additions, they've built a team that can play fast, play tough, and most importantly, protect their superstar. Clark's bullies consider them officially warned. But how will these 3 game changers turn the Fever into one of the WNBA's most dangerous teams?
Sometimes you need one of those players on your team. You need one of those enforcers. Every good player, by the way. Every good player, every good team that is a super duper star. Most of the time have enforcer type.
Picture this. Caitlin Clark, the most electrifying rookie the WNBA has seen in years, steps onto the court for her debut season. The crowd is buzzing, fans are on the edge of their seats, and everyone's expecting a show. But instead of a smooth welcome to the league, what does she get? Hard fouls, unnecessary contact, and a level of physicality that felt more like targeted aggression than tough defense. What was really going on here?
Oh, I see. They try so long to get respect for women's basketball, and then they treat it like a junior high school girl's locker room. Junior high school girl antics on the court.
Let's break it down. This wasn't just the usual rookie treatment. Clark faced a level of aggression that went beyond competition. She took cheap shots, body checks, and fouls that had no place in the game. At times, it felt less like basketball and more like a wrestling match. But here's where it gets shocking. Clark wasn't just another rookie adjusting to the league's physicality. She was targeted. The numbers don't lie, a jaw-dropping. 177% of all flagrant fouls in the WNBA last season were committed against her. That's not just tough defense. That's a clear message that players were going out of their way.
Now, what little girl wants to grow up and play in a league where you're targeted like that? How do you sit here and profess and demand that everyone take women's sports seriously when you can't even take it seriously enough to not act like a junior high queen on the court? It's stupid. That's so dumb. It looks like a soap opera.
And leading the charge, none other than the Chicago Sky. A jaw-dropping 80% of those flagrant fouls against Clark came from just one team. That's not a coincidence, it's a statement. They weren't just trying to defend her, they were sending a message. But why? Was it intimidation, frustration, or just an old-school attempt to slow down a rising star? Whatever the reason, one thing was clear: Clark's presence was making some players uncomfortable. One of the worst examples, Angel Reese herself. Picture this. Clark drives down the lane, eyes locked on the basket, when suddenly, bam, Reese sends her crashing to the floor. The arena falls silent. Fans hold their breath. Would she get up? The hit was so brutal that even the commentators questioned whether it had gone too far. But Clark, she's built different. She dusted herself off, got back to her feet, and kept playing like nothing happened. I think we went up really strong a lot of times and didn't get a lot of calls. Clark later said, "Going back and looking at the film, I've seen a lot of calls that weren't made. I guess some people got a special whistle." That's what sets Clark apart: her composure under pressure. While everyone else debated whether the hits were excessive, she stayed locked in, even after taking a blatant cheap shot from Chennedy Carter. Clark's response was simple, but while Clark proved she could take the hits, the Fever's front office knew they couldn't let her go through another season unprotected. They made moves, big ones. With the addition of some serious enforcers, Indiana is making sure no one gets away with bullying Clark anymore. So, who are these enforcers, and how are they about to change the entire dynamic of the Indiana Fever? Her signing is a massive step forward for Indiana's championship ambitions. A three-time WNBA champion, Defensive Player of the Year, All-Star, and veteran of over 300 games, Howard isn't just another addition. She's a game changer. For those who don't know, Howard is a three-time WNBA champion, a former Defensive Player of the Year, and a veteran with the kind of toughness that transforms a team's identity. She's not here for gimmicks. She's here to make sure. The days of Clark getting bullied on the court are over. Howard was named Defensive Player of the Year in 2019 and has finished in the top 10 in voting 3 times in her career. She has averaged at least 1 block and 1 steal per game for 7 straight seasons, proving she's one of the most versatile defenders in the league. Last season, Clark faced relentless physicality from defenders who thought they could rough her up without consequence. Now, those same defenders will have to think twice before trying those same antics. Howard's presence alone shifts the balance of power. Standing next to Clark, she commands instant respect. Last season, she averaged 17.6 points, 6.7 rebounds, and nearly 3 assists per game. That's elite production. And the best part, she can stretch the floor. With her ability to hit from beyond the arc, she'll create even more space for Clark, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston to operate. The exclusive group of players to average both 18 and 7. Aja Wilson, Brina Stewart, Nafisa Collier, Brittany Griner, and Natasha Howard. She's a nightmare for opponents in the paint her length. Physicality and aggressive style make scoring inside a nightmare. And when it comes to protecting her teammates, she has a history of standing up when it matters most. The Fever are a young squad with massive potential. But deep playoff runs require veteran leadership. Howard has played in over 50 postseason games. She knows what it takes to win. And now she's bringing that championship mentality to Indiana. She entered the 2025 season ranked 25th all-time in blocks in WNBA history, making her a defensive force in the paint. And she's just as excited as Fever fans. Asterisk, I'm excited to return to Indiana and bring my experience and toughness to the team. I want to help Caitlin and the Fever compete at the highest level. Asterisk, this move isn't just about protecting Clark, it's about elevating her. Howard knows what it takes to be a champion, and now she's here to help the Fever dominate. Indiana isn't just pushing back. They're ready to take over. Caitlin Clark took a lot of hits last season, early and often. The Fever needed their own Charles Oakley. Now, they've got her. Sophie Cunningham is heading to Indiana. And the WNBA just got a whole lot more interesting. If Clark needed someone to keep the bullies in check while draining threes, she just got her. The Fever weren't just searching for talent this offseason, they were searching for toughness. And in Cunningham, they found both. There are receipts. There's plenty of them. Sophie Cunningham doesn't back down from anyone. And now, she's bringing that edge to Indiana. Wait a minute, wasn't Sophie Cunningham supposed to be recruiting Caitlin Clark to Phoenix? Turns out, Clark had other plans instead of heading west. She made sure Cunningham joined her squad. This wasn't just a random signing, it was a calculated move. The Fever needed energy, attitude, and relentless toughness. And Cunningham brings all of that and more. Let's be real, wild is the best way to describe Sophie Cunningham. Wherever she goes, chaos follows. Whether it's getting in opponents' faces, scrapping for every possession, or fearlessly stepping into heated situations. She's the type of player who thrives in the fire. Cunningham isn't just tough, she's a sniper.